Welcome to the Mac Power Users. I'm David Sparks, and joined as always by Mr. Stephen Robles. How are you, Stephen?
I'm doing well. I'm sporting some new glasses, in case you couldn't tell, and I'm
Yeah.
going to be reviewing them. They're rather large.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. So you're wearing some fancy glasses.
These are the Meta glasses. I'll be doing a review on them. And, I've never had wearable smart tech, aside from Apple Watch, obviously, but
Yeah.
the glasses. I did have a pin. I wore that for a day. But I've always been interested on the glasses part. And I have some thoughts, accessibility-wise, immediately useful. I could see that. But everything else, there's a cost to wearing a computer on your face like this. And so, anyway, we'll see.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in the episode today. I definitely have concerns about the fact that they're from Meta. Am I now being indexed somewhere? That's what I want to know.
Well, I wore them on the show only because I'm like, you're already being recorded, so I hope that was all right. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So we're already capturing all this. But yeah,
right.
we'll talk about that.
We got a lot to talk about today. It is, gang, a feedback episode. Believe it or not, we've hit another one. Stephen, I've lost track of how many we've done since you've joined the show now.
It's true.
But we have a lot of great feedback in the pile here to get through today, and I'm looking forward to getting started.
That's right. And on more power users, we're going to talk about Creator Studio updates because it's been updated recently.
Yeah.
And I use a ton of Creator Studio apps, so I think it'd be fun to dive into that too.
Yeah, just also how it's evolved and where it fits. It was a little controversial when it came out, and I think it'd be fun to kind of check in with that. So we're going to do that today. And more power users. That's the ad-free extended version of the show. We'd love to have you join. You can learn about that at relay.fm/MPU. I think our show is special, Stephen, for membership, because we don't just give you the one episode a year like most relay shows do. We give you a show monthly-ish. I think we've already done 3 or 4 now, and
we've done 3 bonus episodes. That's right.
It is a lot of fun making those, and it's where we get to let our hair down a little bit.
That's right.
Sorry, Stephen, I didn't mean to say that. But
I'm bald. If you've never seen a picture of me.
Yeah, but we get to have fun with that episode, and we'd love to have you join.
And if I could say one word about being bald, my daughter, she did not want me to go bald at first.
Yeah.
And so I convinced her by saying, well, A, we'll do a little video of you shaving my head, which we did.
Yeah.
And B, I'll buy you suction cups if you want to try and throw them onto my head after I'm bald.
Oh, okay.
And
yeah.
so we had
Did
these
it
little
work?
suction. It works a little too well, David, because I don't know if you'll be able to see on camera. You might see in some of my videos. There's like a red splotch right here on the front of my forehead.
Uh-oh.
And that's what happens with 2 seconds of a suction cup on my head. And it takes days to go away. So that's what that splotch is, in case you were wondering.
Oh, you gotta get them. I'm gonna send them for Christmas. I'm gonna send your kids some of those dart guns with the suction cup darts in them.
Oh my goodness, it's gonna look terrible.
And you're gonna walk around the house with just darts sticking out of your head like a porcupine.
Oh my goodness, I was surprised that she did it the first time. I was like, we can't do this ever again. It's just splotchy everywhere. So that's what happened there.
All right. Before we get into the actual feedback, we had some show discovery feedback that I thought was kind of fun. We should share. We're in the corpus now, Stephen.
We are. I thought this was super fun. We got a couple YouTube comments. One was from BTech611. Said ChatGPT recommended Mac Power users, and glad it did. So wow, I don't know what they searched for. I asked a follow-up like, how did you search that we came up in just ChatGPT search results? But that was pretty cool to know. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we know we do a lot of evergreen content, and.
Yeah.
Maybe you ask it a question, and it's probably scrubbed us as well as everything else, so it probably pointed it to us as a resource.
That's right. And I thought this was a fun YouTube comment. I've been listening to MPU since 2012, 14 years of MPU, and just discovered, I love that, that we have a YouTube channel. So yes, there is a YouTube channel. If you want to see my splotch on my head, you can see that this entire episode.
Yeah. Yeah. So there is a YouTube channel. It's a pittance, a very small fraction of our audience when you look at the numbers, but some people do like it, and I know a lot of folks like to play their podcasts on YouTube. We started doing it. The production value went up dramatically when Stephen Robles arrived because he's managing that, and he does a better job at it than I did. But go check it out if you're interested on YouTube. It's kind of fun seeing us.
That's right. Yeah, it's fun. So I thought that was cool. So next, let's do some follow-up on iOS 27 and Siri AI, because Beta 3 came out earlier this week. There's been a bunch of changes there. And we had some questions, like this one from YouTube from Matthew. And when I finally upgrade my phone, will that phone have to index, or will it take from my old phone's index? And this is something that's Apple made very clear. Every device that you update to iOS 27 come this fall will have to index itself.
Yeah.
No index goes to the cloud and then syncs back down. So your own iPhone, your iPad, your Mac, your Vision Pro, every Apple device has to index by itself. That's part of the privacy and security of it. It does take a while. It's going to be, your phone and other devices are going to be a little warm those first few days or week. Some people experienced even up to a week of indexing, but that's the deal. Every device has to do it on its own.
Yeah, the good news is Apple isn't saving your index. They don't have your data. The bad news is your devices have to build it independently every time. And when you upgrade, you're going to have to do it again.
Right, yeah. Even a device-to-device transfer does not carry over the index. It's every time.
Yeah.
And Beta 3, you have to re-index as well, because I updated to Beta 3 on my iPhone Air, and it's now indexing again. But there's some interesting follow-up with that we'll get to in a moment.
Sure. Multi-ecosystem Siri limits from several emails. Is there a workaround for surfacing personal context across Gmail, iCloud, Office 365, or is it just a permanent Siri blind spot? That is a good question. So Apple has built-in support for Siri AI, and it works on app intents, and we've heard from a lot of app developers that are embracing it. The question is your third-party app. Are they going to embrace it? And I feel like that's a good case for first-party applications. I was just reading this morning NotePlan, an app that we talk about a lot. They've got a ton of built-in support for app intents, and all the users are looking forward to getting all their NotePlan data into Siri AI. Will Google, will Microsoft do it? That's a different question.
And the workaround will be, if you're willing, add those email accounts to the stock mail app on your iPhone, on your iPad. You will have to add it to every Apple device, so they can actually be indexed. But that would be a way to, even if the third-party apps don't adopt these Siri AI features at first, to at least be able to search your emails that way. Even if you never open the mail app, never send an email that way, turn off all the notifications, at least add those accounts, especially if you sync your contacts, your mail, reminders and notes. Sometimes people do that. So that's the workaround for right now. And hopefully that will change when apps actually update with some of these app intents come this fall.
Yeah, and that sounds crazy, but it's not. I have been doing that, Stephen, because I've been testing this out. And like just yesterday, because I've really been trying with Siri to push the limits. And, some of the labs members, the Max Market Labs, are saying, I want to try it, but I just don't trust it anymore. I'm like, you got to get over that and just ask it questions. Like yesterday, I ordered a new shirt. I wanted to know when it was going to arrive. And I just said, hey, when's my new shirt going to arrive? That was the whole question. And because it was mirroring my Gmail into the mail app, it went in, it found the purchase email, it found the ship notice, and it told me right there in chat when my shirt's getting delivered. And to me, that's like, yeah, this is what I've always wanted. I wanted a truly useful assistant. And so feeding it that data is really important. And I think there'll be an ongoing discussion here on Mac Power Users. We're going to be calling out third-party apps that really embrace it and telling you about it. But it's really, it works, guys. Don't trust us. It's pretty good.
It really works. My son was flying out this past weekend, and I tried multiple times, put it in videos, just asking it vague questions like, what time should I leave for the airport? Not even telling it a day, not telling who's going to the airport. And with very little context, Siri AI has been able to pull those things up consistently well. And then you can even send that information to someone. If you want to say in a follow-up, well, text this information to my son. It will just do that. And if you have your contacts set up where your family relationships are connected, so it knows who your spouse is, who your kids are, it will just intelligently know. And because the name on the booking of the ticket was Jordan, and it knows that I have a son named Jordan, even though I have two sons, it will send it to Jordan. Because that's who's traveling. So it is really smart. It's impressive.
Yeah, I asked it who won did Canada win the World Cup match over the weekend? No, it didn't. It lost. I said, okay, tell Chris I'm sorry. And so it creates a text message to my friend Chris, who's a Canadian,
Wow.
And the other one I did that was kind of shocking to me, just as an experiment, I said, set a timer for 20 minutes and play a Pat Metheny album. Like just jamming two things together. And it set a timer for 20 minutes, started playing Pat Metheny music. It's just like, it's kind of nuts. You just have to try it, and you have to let go. You have to let go, Stephen, of your prior angst over Siri, and just let go and ask it questions.
That's right. Search your feelings. You know it to be true. Pat Metheny also, you just had a wave of nostalgia come over me because my dad was a huge Pat Metheny fan.
Yeah, he's still making the hits, man.
That's wild. That's wild. Yeah. So Beta 3 came out earlier this week, and I updated a bunch of devices and was able to get some more information and some answers on a couple things I wanted to bring up. One, Siri AI in Beta 3, you can start to try and ask it for information from third-party apps like we were just discussing. And I actually had this come up on my phone where I asked Siri AI, what's the charge of my car? Yeah. And Siri AI actually put up a yes-no prompt, and it said, I'll need to access your app data. Is that okay? And I could say yes or no. Now, it was broken after that. It actually didn't give me the information. Yeah. Some people on social media have successfully gotten that information through Siri AI right now. And I don't think the Tesla app has been updated to plug into that, but there are app intents for the Tesla app. So some of that stuff is starting to come through. So that's pretty exciting.
I will test because I'm on the other team. I'm on Team Rivian. I will test mine.
Listen, I would love to switch teams. We'll see when the cheaper R2 comes out.
We'll see about
that. Well, as you test that, I also want to mention there's some features in macOS 27 for renaming files. And if you go to Finder Settings in macOS 27 Beta, you can check this box that says Auto Suggest Titles. And if you click a file name to where you're starting to type to rename it, suggested names will actually pop up based on the file's content, even things like images, which is really cool. But I asked because there's no way to do that in bulk. And so I asked, can I do this in bulk? I know I can select multiple files and do an Ask Siri. And turns out right now there's no bulk renaming stock in the Finder of macOS 27. I was pointed to Shortcuts is the tool for that if you want to rename multiple files. But I think it's unfortunate because I can select multiple files, ask Siri, and Siri AI app will open up and give me names for all the files I have selected, even multiple files. Yeah. But it says I just can't physically rename them, which is it kind of stinks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you hit those little dumb things once in a while. I think the security stuff sometimes goes a little too far.
There's that. And two other quick updates. On macOS, if you're on a MacBook Air or Pro, you may notice in macOS 27 that even if you don't have a menu bar manager, which we talked about on one of our first episodes together, there's these two little arrows that now appear that will automatically hide menu bar items, and then you can click the two arrows to expand them, specifically across the notch. There's no manual controls for that. So there's no toggle to turn that on just when you want. It only appears when there's enough icons to fill the menu bar past the notch. Which also means on a desktop, you really can't use it, and you can't adjust its placing. But I'm like, man, Apple just built this great feature, and it seems to work really well, but there's no manual controls. It just appears when it wants, and there's no way to control it.
Well, I mean, it was shameful that they shipped an OS that hid operational units, menu bar items under the notch. I mean, I don't have words for it.
Yeah, that was not good. So this is it's kind of a fix for that. Yeah. And two updates. Shortcuts, we got a toggle where if you want shortcuts to default to the Actions view or the Editor view, you can now do that.
The Robles feature is in.
Yes, I asked for this at DubDub at Apple Park, and so I will take credit for this. I'm not going to lie. And that toggle is there now, which is wonderful. And there's a force sync button now in Shortcuts, where it will say this many shortcuts are on your device but not synced. Do you want to sync them? And this was very concerning to me because A, all my Apple devices tell me they have the same number of shortcuts, so I don't know what shortcuts it's talking about. And B, I had a shortcut syncing issue a couple months ago that I lost a bunch, so I don't want to mess with it. Federico Vitici, who was on the show a couple weeks ago, he did it, and he said it basically took all the shortcuts that weren't in a folder, so in the all shortcuts thing, and just pushed those up again, which I think created some duplicates. So don't hit that button right now. If you're on the beta, you might not have a good experience.
Yeah, that's a problem with shortcuts that's been going on for years, where like
Yeah.
you have duplication or disappearance of shortcuts, and I feel like the iCloud sync code needs another pass.
It's something with the shortcuts library, and I get weird behavior on my Mac that's not on the beta, so it's a little unfortunate.
Yeah, speaking of the robots feature, years ago I was on the show just railing against the way the shortcuts naming and tagging worked. Like it was in the very first release of it, it worked fine, and then it was bad for like 2 or 3 years, and then I was at WWDC, and some random Apple guy walks up to me and says, "Okay, we fixed it. Are you happy now?"
Nice. You know, and you used to be able to specify a voice command for a shortcut different than the shortcut name. I don't know if you remember that. And now it's just, whatever the shortcut name is,
you're locked in.
That's locked in. So I kind of liked the before, but anyway. And the last thing I'll mention, this was actually in the release notes, and I don't have 100% clarity on this, but apparently the Apple Intelligence Home features, which include things like natural language search for things like package delivery, the notification consolidation, so you don't get 1,000 notifications for different things. It's a little unclear, but apparently you're going to have to be on the 2 terabyte iCloud plan or Apple One Premium subscription to access some of those features. Apple has not made it clear what features specifically are behind that paywall. Of course, HomeKit Secure Video was already, it required an iCloud subscription one way or another, even if it was just the 200 gigabyte plan. Unsure what features are going to fold in here. So just wanted to point that out. Keep an eye, keep an ear out. We'll follow up. And also, just related as iCloud storage, Maestral, the Dropbox client, announced its end of lifing at the end of July.
Sad. We actually mentioned that on our Menu Bar app show.
Yeah.
So it was a third-party app that did a cleaner job of a Dropbox sync.
Yeah, and it was open source, and someone might pick up the project and continue it, but it's unknown. And the creator has said they don't use Dropbox anymore, number one.
Yeah.
And number two, they just can't, it's not beneficial for them. So that'll be going away.
Yeah, I get it.
Pour
one out, Maestral.
Pour one out.
Don't you wish that these companies like Dropbox would make a more efficient client, though? I mean,
that's one of the reasons why I got away from Dropbox, because the client felt so heavy. I also had a bunch of shared folders that would sometimes start syncing randomly, like recording a podcast. And iCloud could do that too, but I don't know. I've had a good experience with iCloud. So I still pay for Dropbox and use it, but I don't have it syncing to my Mac.
Yeah, I know you do. And that I can't bring myself to that. I actually have the app running still because I've got enough stuff I'm collaborating on that, the automation routines I have to automatically put it in the local file so it syncs are convenient. But it's a real challenge sometimes. There's a part of me that wants to follow you down that path.
Yeah.
Somewhat related on the AI stuff, because we talked about it in relation to the Siri AI stuff, is I got a bunch of various emails asking questions like, so does this mean we can drop, OpenAI? Does this mean we can drop Claude? Do we need local AI anymore? A lot of people are just having questions about how it fits together. And I wanted to just kind of talk about that. I like to think about it kind of like as an AI stack, and an emerging issue of thought for me is, what is the AI stack for me currently? What is it going forward? What do we talk about for people on the show? And I think for most small business and personal users, I think there's really 3 elements of the AI stack to consider right now. The first one is the newest, is Siri AI. Suddenly Siri is part of the conversation. I mean, a few months ago, Siri you didn't even discuss it. It wasn't an option. But Siri AI, as we talked about last week, has a lot of real advantages because it has access to your local data. It knows a lot about you that the other models don't know. So like when my shirts are going to be delivered, when I'm taking my son to the airport, that kind of stuff, that is the piece of that stack that I think we're all going to be adopting come September. And then there's the high end, which is the frontier models, OpenAI, Anthropic, Gemini. And those things can do real heavy work for you. And, I have a whole course on it, Robot Assistant Field Guide. Steven's done a bunch of videos on it. This thing can do a lot, and it's kind of shocking. I'm going to talk later in our automation corner about something I'm doing with it that I didn't think I'd ever be able to do. That is great, but they come with a monthly fee. They come with a privacy sacrifice because you're sending data up to these big companies. And honestly, they're trying to hook you. I mean, they want you to be paying them monthly forever. And there's a real cost to that, but there's also a real advantage to some of the things it can do. And in the middle is kind of the gray area of local AI. And I can tell you, since I upgraded my computer, I've been experimenting with LM Studio, and there's some real pay dirt there. If you've got a modern Mac and you're running a local model, it kind of fits between the two. It's not as solid yet. The harness isn't really there, but like if you use a DevonThink, for example, it's a real advantage to use that local AI to drive DevonThink and save yourself money and privacy by doing that. But that is kind of the spectrum of it that I see today. The AI stack is your personal assistant Siri kind of thing, your local stuff, if you've got sufficient hardware, and the frontier model you subscribe to. And the lines being drawn between those are constantly moving, but I think that's a good framework for this stuff when these questions come in to think about, well, what is the AI stack for me?
Yeah, and I've been thinking about what will I transition to Siri AI on the Mac for maybe general knowledge questions. One of the things I'll use AI with is like I have a PDF and I have questions from the PDF. And Siri AI is good at that as well. Give it a file, it'll do it. Obviously, for renaming files, I go back to Claude Cowork because Siri AI can't do it in bulk.
Yeah.
But
you could do that with a local model in DevonThink, or you could do it with a local model just in Finder. So like there's areas of play there.
And one of the things we'll actually get to later from a listener is subscription fatigue.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I'm like, all right, I'm going to keep paying for Claude because it gives me the most value regularly. I use it to help me build shortcuts. I have my projects. I have a lot of custom workflows in Claude. I'm not leaving it. But I also do not feel the need to keep paying for ChatGPT and Gemini.
Yeah.
And one or maybe both of those need to go. And the one thing I've not been able to replicate elsewhere is I have a custom GPT that still performs the best. And I continually compare it to Claude because I want to stop paying for it, where I make a YouTube video, give it my transcript, and I have a special prompt where I ask it for title and description ideas. And that custom GPT is still the best for that. And because it's such a key part of what I do every week, multiple times a week, I'm sticking with it for now, the $20 ChatGPT Plus plan. But man, I would love to move that out if I can figure out how to either get Claude to give me the kind of results I want, or maybe Siri AI can do it. And it will do it. If I give it a transcript and I ask it for title and description ideas, Siri AI will deliver. They're just not as good as a basis to work from as the ChatGPT option. So I'm still deciding.
Yeah, I'll tell you, on the topic of world knowledge, I think Siri AI is probably going to be my number one player because it's private, it's free, and it does good for, I know people listening most of you are not on the beta yet, so you don't have this experience, but in September when this comes out, world knowledge is pretty good with Siri. But like you, I'm also on all three of them at this point. Mainly I do the work in Claude, but I'm keeping the other two just because I'm talking about it so often in the robot assistant stuff and here on the podcast. So I want to kind of keep it, but if it wasn't my job, I think I would, if I had to pick one, it would be Claude. But also Claude is very behind the times on image generation if you need it, like for thumbnails and things like that. But that's kind of like a weird thing that you and I do. So I don't think most people need that.
The one that I did stop paying for, and I have no regrets about it, is Perplexity. I stopped paying for it.
I want to talk about that on the show at some point. I'm not sure if we have room in the outline today because I fell off the Perplexity bandwagon when they were doing all the weird data collection stuff, and I know a lot of people really like it, and I don't really understand where it fits. Well, tell me right now, Steve, where does it fit when you've already got the stack I just described?
For deep research, people still like Perplexity. I've run into a number of people because they've asked me to build shortcuts that can do it. Like, give me a shortcut that will do deep research from a prompt. And I even heard John Gruber and Stratechery, Ben Thompson, I heard them on the Dithering podcast just this morning, and they were saying that ChatGPT deep research has gotten less good in recent months. Now, Claude does great at deep research. I'll use it for deep research. Like when the John Turnus transition was happening, I told it, like, give me a bunch of information on this, and it did great. I don't do it very often, so maybe people who do deep research, regularly, they still prefer Perplexity for that. But I would be curious if there's listeners out there, and maybe in the forums, talk about deep research. What is everyone's best experience right now? I think that's the holdout for Perplexity users.
Yeah, and also just make the case for Perplexity. We have a forum, talk.mpu.com or macpowerusers.com, talk.macpowerusers.com. Make the case, because I don't honestly get it. I got a free year of it because of something I bought at some point, and I tried to use it, and I just didn't find much use for it. The year expired. Yeah. But I'm always curious. Stephen, we talked about Siri AI and some of the things last week, and we did not talk about the new photo features. We just ran out of time, frankly. But a lot of folks wrote in, not happy about that. Let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. Mel Gross on YouTube said he has had a great experience with AI and photos, and I have too. Cleanup has been there since iOS 18, I think, when Apple Intelligence first came out.
Yeah.
But with iOS 27 and across all the platforms, we now have the extend and the reframe features. And it's pretty interesting. The extend is really good. And, if you're wondering why might you do this, obviously if you didn't frame the photo ideally at first, maybe you want to extend it. Yeah. But even something like maybe you have a photo that you want to use as a poster or in a bulletin or in a program or something, and you just need a little more space above the heads to put text or something like that.
Yeah.
The extend feature is actually really good for that.
Or you want it on your lock screen, and you just want a little room above your wife's head,
Right, exactly. And I will say the cleanup, what's interesting, in iOS 27, you'll actually have the option of choosing thinking or fast models for cleanup.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to spend a little more time and do a better quality job. But I, just over the last year, have used cleanup many times to remove a subject from the background, to slightly clean up the photo, and I've had a really good experience. And I was curious your experience with cleanup or any of these features in 27.
Yeah, let's work through the whole stack. First, cleanup is better. I did a comparison. We take a lot of pictures, the Sparks family, because my wife works at Disneyland. We go there probably once a week. So we have a lot of pictures with people in the background. So we're always working that cleanup button. And that is my wife's favorite feature. That's the reason she got a new phone last year, because she wanted, the AI feature to clean up photos. But I have mine on the beta. Hers is on the standard one. So we had a real life comparison. And like there was a birch tree behind me, and the new version did a much better job of drawing that in than the old version did. So, and it's just cleaner. And so the feature that I think people use probably 90% of the time, cleanup, actually is better with iOS 27. So good on them. Like you said, there's a setting to have it work on it extra hard. Although there's a caveat there. This is the one feature of Apple AI where you are token limited. You're rate limited. You can't do an unlimited number of cleanups. It will tell you, okay, that's enough for now.
That's right. Or the fast one is local. So if you want to do the fast cleanup, however often you want, that you can do. But it is just the fast on-device model. The thinking one, like you said, is rate limited, and Apple has not really given any kind of, they said you'll have high rate limits if you're on iCloud Plus and you pay the subscriptions, but no actual data as far as like this many cleanups or this many minutes of cleanup, nothing that specific.
Yeah. Now, the extend is very interesting. So I took a picture of the two of us together and said extend it. And that day I was wearing a black shirt with blue jeans. And the picture did not have my jeans in it. Okay. But the extension added them. And it added my brown belt and blue jeans that I was wearing in the accompanying photos, because I had photos near that. And I'm thinking, is it looking at does it know what pants I'm wearing? Because I really have questions about this. I'd love to get somebody to answer these questions. But it looks to me like it figured out what clothes I was wearing and extended those clothes onto the extended image. And
that's interesting.
I don't know if that's true or not. The other thing is it drew my hand, because my hand was out of frame too. My hand was at my side, and the shot was like from my belly up, and when it drew it in, my hand was there. and it drew a generic watch on me, didn't put my watch on, and my wedding band was gone, And
Interesting.
it's just interesting. It's a fun thing to experiment with, and you can see it, like the hand looks very generic white man hand. You know what I mean? It doesn't look like really my hand, but at the same time, it's kind of interesting, to look at this. Now, like expanding up where there were trees and fences and stuff, totally believable. It would work for a lock screen. I'm not sure I would take that picture and print it out though as a print, because I have a weird hand. But but it's just kind of funny, some things I noticed about that. And then finally that third feature, that reframing feature, I was blown away by that in the keynote. And I thought, wow, can they really do this? And the answer is yes. So the way that works is it takes the background and it basically extends it in all the areas wherever you do the rotation. And again, it looks very believable. I don't know how often I'll actually use that, Stephen. I try to frame my pictures when I shoot them. But, sometimes you get a picture and there's just like a pole sticking out of the back of your head or something. You can reframe it out, or at least, I guess you could also just take it out with the background removal tool. But if you wanted to like reframe that to move it so it's not sticking out of your head, you can do that. And very impressive feature, probably the least useful of the three to me.
Yeah, I'm going to do a live one. I'll put links to these images in the show notes. This was a picture that we went to for July 4th, and my wife is off the corner of the photo. All you see is a little bit of her arm. Yeah. So we're going to try and extend and see what kind of wild stuff it comes up with. But I will also say that I have seen videos online where people will try to reframe to go 180 degrees, where they will, if the picture is, someone's face, they will just keep reframing to try and go 180 degrees behind the head. And that breaks. That does not work eventually.
That's not the idea, guys. Yeah.
It's like someone did it to the Steve Jobs photo, the iconic photo where he's like leaning over his desk and his desk is a mess and he has the eyesight camera. Someone tried to do it there and try to turn it so you'd be behind Steve to see what was on his desk, and that one did not work.
Well, I could have told you that.
Yeah. and the one, this photo of my wife, it is not extending very much. I think it is struggling to know what to add there.
Yeah.
And even now, it won't let me, because when you do the extend, you can kind of recrop it to tell it where to extend. And it's actually forcing me to snap the original photo into the corner rather than letting me extend it to where the person is. So it does seem like it's trying to be careful of not just generating random people or creating a face where there's not a face in the actual photo. But if you're just trying to put more space around subjects that are already taken well, it works really well.
Yeah, I will put the picture in of me and Daisy at Disneyland too, where I've got the fake hand, so you can see it. That'll be in the show notes.
I think it'll do hands, not faces.
Okay.
That might be the show title, hands, not faces. I don't know.
Steven, I'll put it in. I'm going to put the source picture, which I think is the source picture, and the resulting picture. And my jeans were in the first picture. In my memory, I thought they weren't, but the top of my jeans are there. But it did draw my jeans down and did give me a fake hand. My wife was wearing camel pants, and it extended them. And there was a fence there, and it did that as well. So it's just kind of wild. And that picture also has been reframed. If you look at it, the altered version is from a different angle.
That's really interesting. There wasn't a lot of camo to go off of in the first picture.
Yeah.
But it still generated that pretty well.
Yeah.
And your hand, it put a watch on your hand, but there's no watch face. That's wild.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting.
And I had a wedding ring on, and it's not there. So.
Yeah, didn't want to assume.
Yeah, I guess.
That's fascinating. Okay, yeah. Links to those in the show notes if you want to see. That's wild.
Yeah. So but overall, I'm actually really impressed with this. I think for normal people out there, this is artificial intelligence, and Apple is putting it down. I can tell you from personal experience, not only my wife, but several, people who are not Mac Power users in my life love these features. They think Apple invented it. They have no idea that this has been things people have been doing with professional software for a long time. and they love it. And I can tell you, my wife, it seems like every picture, it's almost like a problem. Like every picture looks like we are, after the apocalypse because there's nobody else in it in any public place anymore.
Right. And that's, I've heard Merlin talk a lot about that. It's like some photos, when you look at it years from now, the random stuff in the background is the really treasured part of the photo.
Yeah.
Just to see if it's a house in the background or, it's a family. You're trying to get a nice family photo, but there's just random junk in the back. Yeah. Sometimes that's the kind of stuff you want to see. So, I always duplicate when I want to make a significant change on a photo. I like having the original.
Not my wife. Everybody in the background is gone.
Just gone.
Yeah.
just nuked them. They're gone. That's funny. All right, well, we had a great question from YouTube. Blake asked, I want to see more of the lightsaber holders. David, talk about your lightsaber holders.
Okay. Well, it's a little bit of a sickness. When I was a kid, Star Wars was a new thing. They didn't even have toys. Nobody expected this movie to be what it was, right? So our lightsabers were generally gift wrap cardboard tubes. And, you got so many whacks in it before they broke. Then you wrapped them in with duct tape, and then you started literally it was like hitting your hands with a baseball bat. So it got kind of wild. But so as an old man now, I do buy the lightsabers. They sell the character ones at Disneyland, and when I release a new field guide or something, I usually buy myself. So I've got a nice little collection now. And by the way, Stephen, they are all light side. I don't own a single dark side lightsaber.
Now wait a minute. Okay, first of all, there's a picture in the show notes. So everybody needs to check that out. The second row, far left. Whose is that? Because the label has fallen off.
That is the dark saber. That is the dark saber.
No, isn't that a dark side one?
No, it is not. That's a Mandalorian lightsaber. Let's just be clear.
Okay, fair. Fair, I guess.
Used by Din Djarin. It is not.
Sure.
Anyway, so but I wanted to display them, and I looked into holders. There's a couple online. Etsy's got some, but I wasn't happy with any of them. So I designed my own. It's a little hook I made. It's I mocked it up, designed it. I 3D print them. And they're very solid, so I don't want them to fall off. I live in the land of earthquakes. If you look at the picture closely, and we'll put a picture in the notes, there are tiny bits of Velcro straps that are strapping. So the display. Maybe if I get fancy, Steve, I'll even take a picture of one of the display holders without a lightsaber in it. But there's a little slot that you can run this Velcro strap through. So they're Velcroed into it. So if we have an earthquake, they're not going to all fall off the wall. And I love them. I take them down. I take them to Disneyland with me once in a while. They make me happy. It is definitely a obscure thing for an old man. People come over the house and they say, "Hey, do you have kids here?" I'm like, "No, it's me."
I think that's totally reasonable. I mean, these look like cool lightsabers too. You have two ones.
The other thing I did with it is I made the holder with a blank plate on the bottom. And then I 3D print separately the name badge for whoever it belongs to. And my now aging 3D printer, like the new ones have like dual ink slots. They do very fancy things. Mine only has one print slot in it at a time, but I print it in layers, so the bottom of it's gray and the top of it is bright orange. So it looks like it was done very fancy, but it's just a clever trick with my bamboo printer. But I print up name badges with them, and I stick those on as well. So I will share my wall of lightsabers with you guys.
It looks very cool.
And you know what? I'll put the model up too. So if somebody wants to make their own, you can just download it and print it.
Very nice. That's very cool. Very cool. We have some app follow-up I want to get to, but before we do, real quick, Matthew M. wrote an email asking about text messages. He gets on marketing lists and messages from roofing services as a way to filter incoming texts. And I wanted to take this opportunity for one, make sure you have the spam filter on. So if you go to settings, this is in iOS 26 as well as 27, go to settings, apps, and messages, you can turn on message filtering. I have all of these turned on the most. So I have screen unknown senders, I have filter spam, the text message filter is on, and this way your main conversation view should just be your contacts, people you know, And then in the Messages app, you'll have this little filter option where it'll put transactions in one area, unknown senders in another, promotions and spam. It's all there. And so would highly recommend turning on the message filtering, just the built-in features on your iPhone. But also, Shortcuts is getting more messages actions in iOS 27, and you can set up automations for when text messages are received, and there's even a new delete messages action. So if you wanted to, if there's a sender that you just want to delete the message as soon as it comes in, you can create an automation that when it's from this sender, delete the message automatically. Be careful with that, of course, because if you have that set up and you didn't intend to delete those messages, they might be gone. But there's a bunch more actions coming in iOS 27 for deleting, for finding messages, for including pre-made groups when you're sending messages through Shortcuts, which before, if you wanted to send a group message, you had to put all the contact names individually. And then if you already had a group that was labeled, like I have a group called The Fellowship, a Lord of the Rings reference, I couldn't send a message to the Fellowship. I would have to select the contacts, and then it would create another group message if I ran that shortcut. No longer the case in iOS 27. You'll be able to add one of your named groups as a recipient in a Shortcuts action, and it's going to work way better. So all of that's coming, iOS 27.
I'm so impressed with that group name, The Fellowship.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, I have The Fellowship, and I think it's the only kind of fun one. But although my Wi-Fi name, are you okay telling your Wi-Fi name for security reasons?
Sure.
My Wi-Fi name is Minas Tirith. What's yours?
Mine is Spar America.
Hold on, maybe that's the title. How do you spell?
Did you ever watch Seinfeld? Remember?
I did, but
Kramer had all his companies. Kramerica.
Oh, that's right. So Spar America, is that SPARMERICA?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the title. I'm sorry. That's the episode title.
Spar America Industries.
Spar America. Wait, is that the full name?
No, that in my head canon it is, but the network is just called Spar America.
That's that's amazing.
I mean, it's another one where like young people come over, they're like, I don't get it. I'm like, yeah, I get it. And my kids' friends don't understand it, but anybody who watched Seinfeld is like, oh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I watch all the time. The pirate shirt. The no soup for you. All that. All right. Well, we have a bunch of app follow-up we wanted to get to because we had our obscure gems, which some people said some of these are not obscure. Fair. Yeah. There were some big ones in there. Yeah. But I think some of them were obscure. And Dustying in the forums regarding Chalklift, which was an app where you can run it on your iPhone or iPad and then have quick actions on your Mac, like launching apps or running shortcuts, pointed out Alfred Remote, which I was not familiar with, but you knew of.
Yeah, well, I made an Alfred Field Guide. I covered it in there. It's a really cool iPhone app that allows you to control your Mac, turn off the screen, stop the music, like just silly things that your Mac might do in the other room. If you've got Alfred installed and Alfred Remote on your phone, takes care of it for you.
Very nice. Now, a lot of people ask about launchers. Yeah. And I'm curious, in your mind, when Siri AI comes out, Spotlight and Siri AI are going to be one thing. Yeah. And will you have other? I'm still just a Spotlight vanilla guy. Like, I don't have another launcher right now. Yeah. A lot of people love Raycast. Some people use Alfred. Yeah. What is your plan? What is going to be your methodology when this comes out?
I think maybe we need to revisit launchers. We've done it on this show in the past, but it's been many years. And, I think we've done it old enough that we covered Quicksilver at one point when that was a thing. But I currently am primarily using Alfred, and I like it. I made a field guide on it. The reason I like Alfred is they're just so open to third-party plugins. I know the cool kids like Raycast, and I hear about that every time we talk about it on this show. And I have actually a paid license for Raycast, so I'm playing with it in the background. But it's the third-party integrations and the ability for me to generate my own with Alfred that make it so powerful. And in the age of AI, it's even easier because I can write my own scripts to put in. So Alfred is very customized as I use it. So I have a very customized version of it. Currently and generally, I have Alfred on command space and I have Spotlight on control space. So I can run them both. There's certain things Spotlight does better than Alfred and, vice versa. So I'm bilingual.
And you're using Keyboard Maestro for clipboard management still?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, that's not true. I use Alfred's clipboard manager.
Oh.
Yeah. I switched over. I think Stephen Hackett convinced me to do it, and I never switched back.
Interesting.
It's less powerful than the Keyboard Maestro one, but it does the job for me. And I've been using the Alfred one now for a year or two.
Interesting. Okay. I can't talk about what I use just yet because, well, it's not out yet. So anyway, I'll follow up. I'll follow up in another episode later.
Wow, something to look forward to. Yeah.
How about that? Yeah.
If you guys are interested, though, listeners, if you're interested in a launcher show, let us know. If there's enough interest, we will do one because that stuff is constantly evolving. Spotlight gets better, but so does Raycast and Alfred.
And that would force me to finally. I mean, I've tried Raycast multiple times. I just couldn't get past the hump. I feel like with any app, there's the learning curve, and then there's like the usage hump where like, is it actually becoming a part of your daily workflow where it becomes natural? And that's one of the things where Spotlight was already a natural part of my workflow, just command space and launching. Yeah. And I taught myself two things that became really useful. And I think we talked about it before, but command space, typing the beginning of an app name like Pixelmator. We'll talk about this in more power users. Pressing tab and then starting to type a file name, it will give you results of files specifically for that app. And because I launch Pixelmator so often and I have multiple projects, I can quickly do command space, PIX, tab, MPU thumb, and my Pixelmator thumb is immediately visible. And I know there's faster ways to do that in other launchers or whatever, but it's fast for me.
I would love for you to, like, as somebody who's kind of green on this, not like you don't have a dog in the fight, right? I'd love for you to spend a week with Alfred and a week with Raycast and record like make that a show.
Okay.
Because they take different approaches, but there's like so many more things. Like one of my favorite things with Alfred, and it's funny to me when I made that field guide, so many people wrote in that didn't even know this trick existed, but you just hit the space bar and you can search all your files and folders. So you invoke Alfred, hit space. Like one of the ones I do all the time. I just want to quickly get to my downloads folder. I hit command space, then space, and then DO. And then it opens my downloads folder in the Finder. Like,
see, that's the thing. So I'm just now, as you were saying that, I was trying to do Spotlight to see how could I quickly get to my downloads folder. And if I do command space down, Downy 4 comes up first.
Yeah.
And even if I do command 2, which supposedly searches files and folders, not apps, it's still Downy as the number one option. And I would have to like go down a folder to get to downloads. Yeah. So, oh man.
And then and then there's like a whole world of workflows around Alfred. Like just to tell you a couple. Color picker. That color picker thing when I was got to figure out the color. Got it. Data arithmetic. Battery status. There's one that Stephen Millard made called Dr. Drafts. If you're a Drafts user, it's a must-use. HomeKit controller. I got like link cleaner. I've got all these little things I do all the time. Sheesh. And I've just turned them into Alfred workflows. And then also they've got their own built-in system. So it's like I can trigger shortcuts with it. I can. It's pretty wild. But you're right. There's a hump. You got to figure out, like, do I really want to go down this rabbit hole? And but once you get it under your fingers,
right?
People, like, I used to go speak at Mac user groups when they had them, right? And I'd log, and my computer would be on the screen, and I was going to give a presentation about whatever, and I would go bum, with my keyboard, and suddenly the keynote was running, and everything, and somebody would be like, "Wait a second, before you talk, what did you just do?"
That's always a fun way to intro it, for sure.
Yeah. So I think we got to bring you into this world.
I think the 1 week with Raycast, 1 week with Alfred, and then doing a head-to-head Spotlight, Alfred, Raycast. I think that would be pretty good.
I'm sending you my field guide. I want you to I want you to watch it. It's not very long, and it'll get you going on Alfred.
Very good. Well, I feel like this next question might be germane, which is from Michael Franis in I believe the talk forums, subscription fatigue. It feels like sometimes, and I saw after our last apps episode, there were people in the forums that were like, "Whew, made it out clean," like didn't made it out without any new subscriptions. Right, you didn't. And I'm now trying Wispr Flow, which we still have to get to. But I'm curious, do you have a limit? Do you have a practice for cleaning subscriptions? I try to really keep my subscriptions in the App Store. This way, cleaning through them or seeing like, do I still, it's much easier to go through it, but you can't always do that. And there's still lots of things. I actually they sponsor my videos, but I actually use it myself, which is Monarch Money, because I can see all my recurring subscriptions, and that's an easy way to see. And there's lots of apps that do that.
Yeah.
But just keep an eye. But what is your threshold? Like, how do you clean it up? What do you do for that?
Yeah, I just have a number sheet. Every time I add a new one, I put it in. I actually shared the sheet at maxbarkey.com years ago, and I know a lot of people are using it. But as you were talking, I was thinking this would be actually an excellent AI tracking thing, like just to feed that number sheet to Claude and put that in a record so it could nag me about stuff like, are you still using this, and give me better numbers. But yeah, there's a lot of ways to solve that problem. But I'm also not as averse to subscriptions as a lot of people are. And I know people listening are like, oh yeah, of course, because you have the labs, you charge subscriptions, so of course he's going to say that.
Sure.
But the real truth is I've gotten to know a lot of app developers over the years, and it costs money to make apps, and it costs money to keep making them good. And the original model of, pay me $5 in the App Store and then you have this great app that, I need to maintain for the rest of your life doesn't work. They go out of business. They just stop doing it because you can't afford, imagine if you made a thing and then you had to support it for the rest of the user's life, but you never got paid again. And I understand why they make subscriptions. And I think that with a subscription comes an implied contract that I'm going to pay you, but you're going to continue to give me good stuff and make updates. So for an app developer that does it right, that charges me a fair amount and continues to make it better, I am 100% down with that. And when I look at the money that gets wasted on dumb things like Starbucks or whatever compared to how much these apps cost, it's not that much money. And if it means that, like, Drafts is a good example. I use Drafts daily, and the developer of Drafts continually makes it better. I think I pay $20 a year for this app that I use all the time, and it's so useful to me, and I want it to continue to exist. With the old model, if he can't make money on it, he'd have to give up on it, and then somebody else would make a new version of Drafts that they sell that you buy, and a year or two later they'd give up on it, and you were jumping around. With this new model, I think it's fine. So that's my defense of subscriptions. I'm not saying you should just subscribe to everything, but if the developer is giving you value for money and it's something you can use, then I'll pay it.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. The value is really what it's about. When we do an app roundup or menu bar apps, we talk about a lot of apps, not because we think you should subscribe to all of them, because we probably don't, but if there's one that provides value to your workflows that would make your life easier, well, then it'd probably be worth it. And I think a great example of like kind of this tiered pricing value is Flighty. And I don't travel very often during the year, so I don't pay annually for Flighty. But my son was traveling. He's got a couple flights the next couple weeks. And so I signed up for Flighty. I could have just done the free version. And Flighty, again, this is the app developer tightrope walk of, do you give enough features on the free version where it's still useful, but that you put something behind a paywall that would bring value but is worth it. And Flighty, like, there's a $5 a week plan, which initial reaction might be like, $5 a week, a renewing subscription a week. That sounds like some of the scam apps you might have heard of before. But if you think about it, like, you might only travel a few weeks a year, and that's probably worth it. But if you travel more often, you know how valuable Flighty is, especially when you're flying. They have an annual plan. $60 annually is not that bad. And what I really appreciate is when app developers put that lifetime purchase, which, like you're saying, it's a tough sell because that user might use it for the rest of their lives, and the developer never gets paid again for it. But if the developer puts that price way up, and if someone's just so averse to subscriptions but find value in the app and want to do the $300 one-time purchase, then they have that option. And so I see Flighty as a great example of like a subscription done well. And it's always the question of, do you as the user find value to it? And is it a one-time, like, to pay enough one time because it's going to be valuable long term, or you just want to try it out. So anyway, it's tough, but
yeah. But to your original point, when you can do it through Apple, it's so much easier to manage.
Yeah,
because you just go in there, Apple handles it.
Exactly. And speaking of another app, just want to mention this real quick. Ed sent via email. We talked about Chalklift, the Alfred launcher. He uses an app called MetaGrid Pro, which I had not heard of this, but this is another, you can use your iPad as this wild launcher for your stuff, and it's pretty cool. And so if you're looking for another kind of launcher, he talks about his crazy setup that he has for different apps, Bamboo Studio, CAD, all this stuff. And so I'll put a link to MetaGrid Pro if you want to just have a crazy launcher.
Yeah, kind of a Stream Deck alternative, like with an iPad.
Exactly.
Steven, you said something that I have to follow up on. You said you're using Wispr Flow.
Yes. You have talked about it so much. He didn't ask me to try it. He just kept talking about it. And I've been seeing they're advertising on Instagram. I've heard, The Verge is writing about them. So I was like, let me try it. Let me try it for real. So I put it on my Mac. I put it on my iPhone. Number one, it is so clear how much better it is than the built-in dictation when you're trying to write something longer, like an email. I did an A/B test where I talked to my phone for a little while trying to compose an email. The built-in dictation did okay. I had to fix a bunch of things. I did the same thing with Wispr Flow, and I was like, shoot, this is perfect, and I don't need to change anything. I was like, okay, that's really good. Now, I tried it on my phone first, and then I put it on my Mac, and it's, again, really good there. My question is, when you use on your phone, if you use on your phone, is there any tricks or how useful do you find it there? Because it's a third-party keyboard, basically, that you have to use, which is number one. So you have to switch to it. And number two, you don't get to see the dictation as it's happening. So there's this trust level where when you start dictating, Wispr Flow is recording, and you can see little waves, but you don't see words appearing until you're done talking. But once you're done talking and hit stop, it puts all the words immediately in the email or wherever, and it is really, really good as far as understanding your cadence and spelling things properly. And it got iOS. Every time I said iOS, it actually said it properly. So I don't know. I'm curious your uses on the phone versus computer, how you do it.
Yeah. On the phone, it's more of a pain because of the security feature. When you open it in an app for the first time, it dumps you to the Wispr app where it's authorized, and you have to swipe back, which is kind of nuts, And that wasn't always true. In earlier versions, it didn't do that once you approved it once, but Apple changed something, and now that's a thing. So that's the big caveat on the mobile device. But the way I use it on mobile is I primarily do short bursts of text with Siri, and the enhanced Siri in the beta is better than the currently shipping one, but it's not Wispr Flow good. But if I want to do an extended entry, I dictate journal entries sometimes into day one, that's always Wispr Flow. It's just so much better. So I use it on the mobile all the time. I think I use it even more though on my Mac because I use it. That's the way I put text in. Way more than using a keyboard. Anything of extent. This morning I went through my dispatch, the report my AI prepares for me every morning. All I do is I hit the open the mic button on Wispr Flow, and I just talk through the whole thing. Item 2, I finished that last week. Mark it as done. Item 3, push it to next Wednesday. That I see I have a calendar appointment Tuesday. Could you please prepare a draft reminder email? I just kind of just narrate through it as one long piece of text, and then I just dump it back to the AI and let it process all that for me. I don't type that. If you look at my statistics, I've written the equivalent of 3 books using Wispr Flow, and a lot of it is talk to AI or talk to journal entries or kind of long form stuff. So that's the first answer. And the second question is, what about this thing where you don't see your words? To me, that's a feature, not a bug. But that's because I think you get hung up on the words. If it's putting you're constantly checking to see if they're right. You're not thinking about what you're saying. And as a baby lawyer, went back in 1990, I was given a little dictation machine my first day and said, don't type, use this. We have people to type for you. And So you had to learn that skill anyway. And of course, back then there was no technology that would let you see the words as you say them. So I kind of got used to that, and do a lot of my dictation with my eyes closed, or walking around the room. So I don't need that. And I do think if you just kind of go with that and just focus on what you're saying instead of checking the work, you'll actually find that that's actually better.
Okay. Well, I'm going to stick with it. I skipped the whole swiping on the keyboard, even though you and Mike Hurley tried to do that. I skipped over that and just went right to Wispr Flow. And I've kind of been doing what you're saying is if it's a quick dictation, I'll just use the built-in one.
Yeah.
But if I'm going to answer some emails and I'm sitting out on the patio and I just have my phone or my iPad, then I'll go to Wispr Flow and start dictating. And man, it is impressive how good it is. And if you're not familiar, in the iOS 27 beta, this is one of the features that are only available for the newer devices, M3, iPad, Mac, and newer, iPhone 17 and iPhone Air. You have to go to General, Keyboard, and then there's an advanced dictation you can enable. And it's supposedly better. It's on device.
It is better. Yeah,
it is better, but not as good as Wispr Flow, though.
Yeah, exactly. And every time this comes up, I get a bunch of emails saying, "Oh, but you're not talking about Super Wispr or like one of the other mini apps that does this." And I've tried a bunch of them, but there's a new one every week because the Wispr model is propagating and everybody's making an app to do it. And my only response is just, for me, Wispr Flow is the Goldilocks kind of spot. It's got some advanced features. It's got a custom dictionary, which I think is essential for this kind of stuff. So like it actually knows the word Mac Sparky. It doesn't write MAX space BARKY, and
Right.
Like words I want, it knows. It's got a couple additional features, but it's not overwhelming, and it just kind of works. And some of them actually try to rewrite for you that the AI layer is too aggressive. This one, they've got it tuned right. So it just seems to me like it's pretty great. And but to each his own. If you've got a different one you like better, that's cool too.
Yeah.
But this is a subscription I do pay for, and willingly. I mean, I have gone down the whole rabbit hole, Stephen. In the old days, as a lawyer, I used to pay, I think, when Dragon made their iPhone app, it was, I think the subscription was like $80 a month or something.
Yes,
it was
ridiculous.
really expensive. And it wasn't that great, And so when you look at these subscriptions for these modern apps that run circles around what they used to do, I really don't blink.
Yeah. Last question on this, do you say question mark, exclamation point, comma? Do you do any kind of punctuation?
I grew up doing it that way, and new paragraph and things like that. So I often revert to that because it's just kind of baked into my operating system.
Yeah.
But you don't have to. You can just talk. It does that for you. Although one tip I would give to Wispr Flow users is put new paragraph in, say that, because I feel like the paragraphs are too long. It doesn't do a good job of splitting them. I actually corresponded with their customer support, and they told me the same thing. Just say when you want a new paragraph.
Okay, will do. All right, new segment here. Can we do an automation corner?
Yes.
Quick
let's do an
automations.
automation corner.
Let's do it. I'm excited because I have some new shortcuts I recently discovered were possible. And so I just want to share these. One, I'll put all these links in the show notes. One is an upcoming movie shortcut, which uses the movie database API, shows you a choose from list. You can select movies that are about to come out in theaters, and whichever ones you select, it will add them to a reminders list with the trailer link on YouTube in the reminder, the poster attached, and the release date in the notes of the reminder. I thought that was pretty fun.
So it's calling the API from a website?
Movie database, which is, it's free basically. So I include the API key and you can just run it as many times as you want. And that's super fun.
Yeah.
Two, I saw someone, actually Sarah Dici and Hank Green on social media. They were complaining how difficult it was to get an address from like Google Maps to Uber to like start hail a ride. And so I was curious, can I use a URL scheme to kind of hack that?
Yeah.
And so I was able to make a shortcut. It works either in Google Maps or Apple Maps, that when you share a location in the share sheet, if you run this shortcut, it'll take the address of whatever business or location you were looking at. You'll automatically go to Uber app and hail a ride from your current location to that destination, and all you have to do is click book. And it's pretty fast. And there is Uber built into Apple Maps, or at least ride sharing, but it is a couple taps away and still eventually kicks you over to the app anyway. So I like my shortcut.
We had Sarah Dietschy on the show a few years ago. Why
Did you
get her back? She was a fun guest.
She's doing a lot of vibe stuff right now in this. So yeah, that would be super fun. And then 2 other quick ones. Multi-stop directions. I didn't realize that you can open multi-stop directions in Apple Maps in a single go. And the reason why I did this is I had someone in my Shortcuts community, they have, for their work, they'll have a bunch of events in their calendar for their stops for that day. Yeah. And every stop has an address attached. And they were like, is there any way to quickly pull this up in Maps? So I made a simple shortcut that it looks at your calendar events for today, and any events with an address, it adds those to a variable, and then it opens that variable in Apple Maps as turn-by-turn directions, and it's just, you can press go, and it will have every stop from your calendar events in your turn-by-turn, ready to go as stops, and you can be on your way.
See, I didn't realize you could feed it multiple addresses. That's cool.
I didn't know. And I made another version I'll include, which if you want to search for multiple stops, so let's say you're on a road trip and you're like, give me a Starbucks, give me a this, and then here's the destination.
Charging station, whatever.
Charging station. Yeah. You can have it like, how many stops do you want? You can search for each stop, add it, choose from list, and then it will open multi-stop directions in Apple Maps with what you chose, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the last one, Apple Intelligence. I saw someone, there's an app that you can get that whether you take a photo or take a screenshot, it'll tell you the dominant color and give you the hex code, which, if you're a web designer, graphic designer, that could be really useful. And so I was like, I think I can do this in Shortcuts using Apple Intelligence, which I did, and it works great. But I also found a free API that will generate an image, like a square, in that color. So when you run my dominant color shortcut, you can either take a screenshot or just take a photo with your phone camera. Apple Intelligence will find the dominant color, and then you'll see in a quick look a square, and the solid color of that square will be the dominant color that you just found, and the hex code will be overlaid on the square, plus it's copied to your clipboard, and then you can put it in Pixelmator, Photoshop, whatever you want.
You know what would be cool if you, like, let's say you want a lock screen of your wife or your dog or whatever, and then you have the shortcut pull the dominant color and make that the wallpaper color. So you get the dominant color out of the lock screen to make it the background for your icons.
That's pretty good. Now I'm going to write that down. Lock screen dominant color. And one other one I will share. So there's a great app called Charty. And Charty 2.0 recently came out.
Oh, they're still developing it. That's good. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And it's really good. And so I did some shortcuts in my last video with it. And one of the things I did was, based on the book 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Burkeman, which is like the average human lifespan, I did it where when you download this shortcut, I'll put a link to this one as well, it asks for your birth date. So you put your birth date in, and it will calculate how many weeks you've lived. And using Charty, it will create a circle filled in to the amount of life you have lived up to 4,000 weeks.
How much gas is in the tank.
And then it will place that on your lock screen automatically as part of the wallpaper. So it overlays the chart or graph on a wallpaper that you choose, and then every day you can wake up and see how much you got left.
How much closer you are to death.
And I know that's morbid, but it's also I don't know.
I think memento mori. You got to know.
Memento mori. That's
you only got so much time. Go make a difference.
That's the thing.
But it's funny to me. 2 of my podcast hosts are doing this. You
really?
Do this, and Mike Schmitz does it in Obsidian, where his daily note every day shows him how much gas is in the tank. So I think that's kind of funny. Two of you unknowingly both came up with that. Yeah. So Stephen, thanks for sharing these. He's got a lot of great shortcuts. So go check it out. We'll have links in the notes. And I have an automation to share. It's not really a deliverable, but it's just kind of an interesting story. I wanted to talk it through with you. In the background, over the last few months, I have been setting up a Circle community for my customers, for the Max Barkey Labs members and for the Field Guide customers. Historically, I had them in 2 different platforms, and Circle is just so much better. And with the kind of stuff we've been doing in Robot Assistant and the labs, having a place to talk to other nerds is really kind of important. And it seemed like the thing, but it also felt like a mission impossible, because getting thousands of customers from one place to another and shepherding it and setting it up, it's really been challenging me. And of course, now that I've kind of opened the floodgates and the customers are coming over, there's a bunch of customer support problems, like a certain field guide didn't get provisioned or something or another. And so I've been getting bombed with a lot of support, and I decided to give the robot some email privileges, which is new for me. I've always felt like I don't want it touching email. It could read it and give me analysis, but I don't want it writing it. But it just, when people send in a simple request and I can get it taken care of in an hour or two, as opposed to the next time I'm in front of a computer to deal with this, it seemed like it made sense. So this is what I did. I built a thing that reads, because I have superhuman mail and there's an MCP. So I've got a routine that runs every 2 hours in Claude Cowork. And it's an automated routine. It reads the email for customer support problems. And then I broke them up into like 4 categories. And some of them require me and some of them the robot can do. But if it reads an email and identifies something that it can do, like it says, somebody will say, hey, I didn't get my Alfred field guide. It has a database it can check and says, oh, Steven Robles, oh yeah, he bought the Alfred field guide. He should have got it. And then it uses the MCP with Circle to go in and add that to his account. And then it prepares an email to him. And it says, hey, this is David's robot. I read your email and I just did what you asked. And the last paragraph is, by the way, I'm a stupid robot and I make mistakes all the time. So I'm also copying this to David and Jim. Jim's the guy who helps me out with this stuff. So if there's any problem, just reply to all and humans will take it from there.
That's good.
And it took me a while to kind of come up with that protocol, because I didn't want people to feel like, he's not even dealing with it anymore. But right. What I do like is I wake up in the morning and someone in Germany who wrote me at 1 a.m., California time, got their problem solved even before I woke up. So it's working. Overall, people are like, wow, this is amazing. I can't believe you did it. A couple people are like, I can't believe you did this. I used to like you because you didn't do stuff like this, So you get kind of a mix of things, but in general, the response has been positive. But for me personally, it's been really great because people's problems are getting solved much faster than if it waited for me to do them manually when I wake up. But it's an automation that I thought I would never make. And it's just shocking to me how far we've come with this AI stuff in the last 6 months, that now this is a thing I'm doing.
That's really good. I mean, I'm like you, gave Claude an MCP to Fastmail so it could read everything.
Yeah.
And it was even drafting emails for me to potential sponsors.
Yeah.
But I hadn't had it sending emails just yet.
Yeah.
But I think I might take that step, at least for sponsors, because, that's fine. I'd send them my rates, and that's pretty much the whole conversation.
My condition is I want there to be no question that it is from a robot and not me. So in addition to putting the text in the email, I created a new email account on my Gmail called robot@maxsparky.com. So if the reply comes from that, which has led to some funny instances, because I read them all. I don't just ignore it. In the morning, I go through everything that happened over the night, and a lot of times I'll send the customer a note, say, hey, Sparky here, is everything okay? It said it did the thing for you. Did it work? But if I'm not careful, if I jump into the robot thread as opposed to the original thread to me, it says coming from robot. And a couple times people have written me back, say, hey, just so you know, now your robot's writing and not disclosing that it's a robot. And no, it was me. I just actually was sloppy and I replied from the wrong address. But it's just kind of like learning curves. And, there's people out there listening and say, hey, big companies do this all the time. You're not doing anything fancy. But for a small operation like mine to take that step, that would not have been possible without this technology. And I'm still very leery of it. I still have a hard rule that it always identifies itself. It comes from the robot email. But I do think overall customers are getting a better experience, because simple problems, password resets, course allocations, things like that, they're generally getting their problem solved within a few hours.
Yeah.
And the only reason I don't do it like every 30 minutes is because I am up against the wall on Circle API tokens. And, it's just like I've got to kind of like be careful about not overstaying my welcome with the Circle backend. But but I think 2 hours is fair, and it's definitely faster than I would do it. So there you go.
That's interesting. Well, I'm curious too, because Circle, they had an Eclipse event recently.
Yeah.
And they actually said they're adding a bunch of AI tools just built into the platform themselves.
Yeah.
And I'll be curious, maybe you can move some of those things directly in a Circle. Yeah. Obviously not the email. That'll still need to be a Claude thing because it has to connect to both.
Yeah.
But, with customer service type things, I'm curious. So
they have some very interesting AI offerings I'm experimenting with. I want to expand the use of it, but I actually really, really want to be in control of this. And so I don't know if what they're doing is good enough. From my reading, it looks like they've got some really great stuff when you're onboarding, but I already did all that. I'm not sure how much of that Eclipse stuff I need, but I'm looking into it. But also I like the idea of just driving an MCP from my robot that knows everything about me and my preferences and has more context.
That training behind the background context is a huge deal.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but that was an automation that I did not expect to write, but it worked pretty good.
That's fun.
It's probably fixing somebody's problem as we record the show. I mean, I'm not being funny. It's probably right now. Yeah,
exactly. That's awesome. All right, do you want to jam through stuff we're playing with?
Oh, of course.
Let's do it. Well, let's see. Do we want to? Let me do an edit point.
You want me to go first? I've been talking a lot. Why don't you go first?
Okay.
All right. So, what are you playing with, Steven?
Well, obviously, I got my Meta glasses.
Yeah.
And jury's still out. We will see how it feels. But I did wear them to our July 4th celebration.
Yeah.
And, the most useful thing is the built-in cameras. And so rather than holding my phone up and looking at the fireworks through a phone screen, which we can debate whether you should even take videos because who looks back at these. But I just recorded them with my glasses instead. And that was kind of fun because I was recording a video of it. And I was looking at it with my eyeballs, and I got it all there, and that was kind of fun. So that's the Meta glasses. I'll put a link in the show notes, but everything records vertically, unfortunately, photos and videos.
Yeah, it's like social media.
You can. I did it while I was at the little lake fireworks show. You can tell it to take a photo and share it to your Instagram story just from the glasses, and it'll just do it, which is kind of cool. I was hoping to use these as B-roll things for device reviews. Like I would love to be able to do an iPhone 18 review type video, and I have shots of me using the phone, and I wouldn't have to hold a camera. I could just do my glasses.
Yeah.
But because it only shoots vertically, I don't know how possible that is. It's not going to be very crisp video cropping in to make it widescreen. So that remains to be seen.
And I don't need to go into it here, but if you're interested in Meta glasses, look into the privacy piece of it because there are some real dragons in there, I think.
The privacy is in the tubes. I would not recommend these for privacy and security. Yeah. I didn't want to wear them in public often because, there's so many social media videos of people like getting upset that they're being recorded and they see the glasses.
Yeah.
I wore these in a grocery store and then to that July 4th celebration and nowhere else publicly. No one's come up to me and said, like, are you recording? Or are those the glasses? Like, no one said that. Of course, there weren't many people around in the grocery store. And at the July 4th thing, there was so many people around, it didn't matter. Like, nobody was looking. But I will say I felt weird because I had to use the restroom at the grocery store. And I immediately realized, like, I'm wearing a camera on my face.
Yeah.
And to go into a public restroom, if everybody knows what these are, like, that feels weird.
Yeah.
And my vision is such that I could take my glasses off and still see okay. So if I go into a public restroom again, I'll just take them off and not have them on my face at all. But if you're using these for your glasses and you're like my wife, her vision is such where without glasses she cannot see and would not be able to navigate the restroom, that's a problem. You know what I mean? And that felt kind of weird to me. I didn't like that feeling. But we'll see. I'm gonna try them out. The accessibility possibilities are obviously amazing. Like you can ask Meta AI, what am I looking at? And it will describe it. I even have pictures on one of my walls of photos I took in other countries when I used to work for the travel company. And I would say, where is this photo? Or where was this photo taken? and it nailed it. It could name Amsterdam. It got the Rhine River in Germany. It got Canada. Like, it's great at recognizing things, describing what it's seeing. Just on my desk, I could say, tell me what I'm looking at, and it will describe everything on my desk. So, like, the accessibility thing is awesome, and some of that world knowledge is cool. But again, huge privacy cost and security cost. I also noticed my iPhone battery really taking a hit when I was out and about, because I think the Meta AI glasses are constantly connecting. They're pinging your location all the time. And whenever you have to if you want to transfer photos and videos, it has to connect to the Wi-Fi network that the glasses put off. So there's not an easy way to do that. So a lot of caveats. I'm going to be doing a full review on my YouTube channel, but some cool things, some weird things, you know.
And there is real solid smoke to the rumor that Apple's developing their own set of these things.
That's the thing that what I've most realized wearing these for the last week has been, man, I would love for these to be Apple. Because if I could send text messages through the voice assistant, if it, like when I was driving away, you know, I have the smart garage door opener. It's in HomeKit. I would love to be able to just tell my glasses, hey, close the garage door. But I can't, because it doesn't talk to HomeKit and it doesn't talk to Apple Home at all. So I still have to like either tell my watch, my phone, or whatever. So it's so clear like how many benefits there could be if I could have something like this and it be Apple's ecosystem all built in. So I'll talk about that in the video.
Yeah. And like, you know, there's the parallel path, there's the Vision Pro kind of full immersion glasses, and then there's these on your face walk around glasses. And it seems like the Meta glasses are much more successful. Of course, they're more affordable as well. And I think a lot of people are interested in them, but I actually hope that that doesn't mean they stop on the full immersion stuff, because I find that the most useful. And I don't know, it's a weird time with that technology, but you know, the bathroom problem is real. Like, what's it going to be like when everybody's wearing these things, walking around, and you go pee? Like, what do you got to, you know?
It felt really weird. Even I was the only one in the bathroom at first, and it still felt weird, because like if someone walks in right now, like, and they know what these are, immediate awkward situation. And there's apparently very unsavory things. People will get either stickers or take the light out, which a light turns on whenever you take a picture, and if you're recording video, it will glow kind of periodically, and people try to hide that or put something on it to block that light. And that's not great. So we'll have to see. We'll see.
All right. Well, my new thing I'm playing with is an offshoot of my new Mac. You know, my new MacBook Pro. I needed to get a proper dock because, you know, I don't have the same I/O I had with the Mac Studio. So I bought the big boy. I got the CalDigit TS5 Plus, which is kind of the newest, shiniest one that CalDigit makes. And I've been using it a month now, and without flaw. I mean, what people say is true. The one cable lifestyle is real. You can have everything plugged into one of these things when you want to take the laptop off. Make sure your drives are unmounted, but other than that, you just kind of unplug and go. And when you plug it back in, everything hooks up just fine. These CalDigits, you know, everybody says this is the one you get. And I think I would add on to that. One of the things I like about it is a micro SD card, because some of my cameras have micro SD, and it's always a pain to like plug them into an adapter. The front-facing inputs, there's just more of them than you get with a Mac Studio, so that's kind of nice. I use those quite often. And there is so much I/O in the back. It's got 10 gigabyte Ethernet, so you've got really fast Ethernet going through it, as fast as I can get, you know, through it. And it's solid with one big asterisk.
What is that, David?
This thing gets really hot. I mean, I cannot get over how hot this thing gets.
Okay, so I'm looking at the picture of this on B&H.
Yeah.
And this thing has all the ports.
Yes.
This thing is like, on the front, it has the headphone jack, 2 SD card slot, USB-A, 2 USB-C. On the back, you got 3 Thunderbolts, 3 other USB-Cs, headphone, mic, display port, Ethernet, and 4 USB-As. My goodness.
It does everything. And they send it to you with these little rubber feet with the impression that you can lay it down, so you can have it vertically or horizontally.
Right.
But it got even hotter when I laid it down horizontally, because the bottom half of it, even with the little offset, was really trapping heat under there. And it was too hot to like touch for an extended period of time. So I turned it up vertically, and I can keep my hands on it now for a while, but it is not comfortable at all. And like I've been holding it here while we've been talking, and it's
just
like,
warming your hands up.
Yeah, I'm heat sinking it with my body.
Now, does it? If your computer's not connected, I assume it doesn't get hot, or does it just stay hot?
It stays hot. It's just hot.
Really?
It's like a heat source in the room. My wife walked in here the other day and said, I think it's hot in here. What's going on? You know, I have an air conditioner in the studio, but I don't run it most of the time. I'm like, yeah, I have a space heater now. I didn't explain anything further, but yeah, I do. And it's just really hot. So I talked to some friends. A lot of our creator friends use these same things. They're like, oh yeah, this thing just gets really hot, but don't worry, it'll run forever. Okay. And so I'm not going to worry about it. But wow, it is hot. And so what I'm doing is I'm making sure it has plenty of airflow. I'm got it vertical, and I'm generally not going to worry about it. But yeah, other than that, it's pretty good.
I mean, CalDigit, I've always had a good experience.
Yeah.
I use a CalDigit, the Element 4 hub, which is like 3 Thunderbolts to the 1 Thunderbolt to your computer.
Yeah.
And I use that for all my external SSDs, and never a problem, and that one does get warm too. It's not doing as much as yours, but it's like under the desk with a bunch of other cables, and like I don't think about it. So
well, this thing is driving a Pro Display XDR and a Studio Display, and like I am certain that I'm kind of like doing more with this than most people do. But boy, it gets hot. But yeah, I mean, I still recommend it. I mean, I think if you've got a laptop and you want all the ports, this is what you buy.
So now wait a minute, you got your Pro Display XDR and Studio Display in the Thunderbolt ports, right?
Yeah.
And then you have what else do you have plugged into it?
I have backup drives. I have two. I have a Time Machine drive, and I have a clone drive. I've got
audio interface,
Stream Decks. I've got my audio interface, like everything going through.
So, and you don't need anything else besides this. Like it's just this one hub for everything.
Yeah, and then I've got one cable coming out of it that plugs into my laptop, and then when I decide to go sit in front of the baseball game and answer email, I just, like I said, make sure your drives are dismounted and unplug, and off you go.
I mean, that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Like that ability to just get up and take the same computer out there. That is nice.
Yeah.
Well, and you saved $3,000 buying it when you did. So
I did. Jeez.
That's it. Well, that's very cool. I'll do a follow-up in the next episode, but I do have one more smart lock to talk about, the Schlage Sense Pro, the second ultra-wideband smart lock that you can get for Apple Home. Long story short, it's very, very good. It's very expensive at $400. It's $130 more than the Aqara U400, which also has the ultra-wideband. The Sense Pro also does not have a fingerprint or physical key unlock.
Interesting.
So it's a trade-off. Some people like that it doesn't have a physical key because then it can't be picked. But there's also no fingerprint, so it just depends on what you prefer. But it is very good. It is solid. It unlocks quickly. And I'm going to do a full video on the channel. But it's very good. It's just expensive. But it is Schlage. And people like Schlage for the history, the security, and just longevity.
Yeah. So I mentioned this on a prior show. I bought the Aqara version of this, and the advantage of this technology for people who aren't plugged into this is it has that ultra wideband. It sees your phone or your watch approaching, and it just unlocks. And the wife approval factor is off the charts for me because she just walks up to the door and it unlocks, and she loves that. I really like it, but do you have enough of an opinion now to make a recommendation of the Aqara versus the Schlage?
So I was testing both as I was making the video actually this morning because I wanted to make sure that the Aqara is still solid.
Yeah.
And it's still really good. Like walking up with just my watch, the Aqara one unlocks ultra wideband, no problem.
Yeah.
I like the fingerprint unlock, especially for if you have kids or someone in the family that doesn't have a device like that. And the physical key, it's good, but I do like the Schlage Sense Pro's design. It's much smaller and more, a much smaller footprint.
More German.
It is, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I actually did some research on that name, the Schlage. Yeah. It is from the German creator. That was his last name. But anyway, it looks really nice. Comes in black or the satin nickel, and it still has the pin pad. So if you want to unlock it that way, it looks very nice. They're both Matter over Thread, both the Aqara and the Schlage. The Schlage also has a Wi-Fi backup, which the Aqara doesn't have, but if you have Thread devices, it's really not a big deal. You'd probably never use it. I think it's really just preferences. Like, do you want fingerprint and physical key? Go with the Aqara. If you like the look of the Schlage better, and you're okay paying the extra $130, the Sense Pro is a good option. But as far as performance, I think they're both on par. Sometimes the Schlage one was a little better at Apple Watch unlocking, like approaching, and I didn't have my phone with me, and I just had my Apple Watch. It felt like maybe it unlocked a little faster, but the Aqara one does just fine. I never get like it doesn't unlock when I approach. So they're both very good. So,
yeah, I like the Schlage looks a lot better in my opinion, but it is a lot more money. And the advantage for me, the Aqara stuff, is I have Aqara cameras and some of their other gear, and they there's a benefit from using their stuff together that you wouldn't get if you went to a third party.
Yeah, and if you get the Aqara video doorbell, thermostat, and lock, when someone rings your video doorbell, you can see a picture of them on your thermostat, and then you can unlock your door from the thermostat. Yeah. And that's all Aqara built-in ecosystem. That's not something you could piecemeal inside Apple Home. So little things like that.
I upgraded to the Aqara video doorbell, and boy, do I love the sound of having your HomePods as your doorbell. It's very good. Pleasant sound.
And it announces who's there if it recognizes the face.
I've started to wire that up. I haven't entirely done that one. That's on my list. Yeah. Either way, gang, feedback shows, they always go long. We can't help it. You guys have great questions. I just talking to someone recently about how the Mac Power Users audience is the best audience in all of podcast land. So thanks for sending the notes in, everybody. We are going to be talking about the Creator Studio check-in today, more power users, so make sure to stick around from that. You can find us at relay.fm/MPU. Go check out all the shortcuts Stephen made. Man, these are great. So we're going to have all that stuff in the notes. Take a picture of my fake hand, whatever you want. If you want to watch it on YouTube, we got that too. Thank you to our sponsors this week, Squarespace, NetSuite, and Decagon, and we'll see you next time.